Welcome everyone to a new show on the UCPN. This is the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where we're not old, but the comics are. That's right, no new stuff here. This is all Bronze Age, Silver Age, any age, as long as it's older than 20. All right? So, joining me on this newest of oldest reviews, my No Prize podcast colleague, the Professor Bud Young. How's it going?
It's going well, Machine. How are you?
Very well, very well. And also joining us to make our terrific trio is the original host and creator of not just DC Jeopardy, but the whole definitive Crusade. 13th Crusader, how's it going?
I'm doing all right, man. How's it going?
Well, I'll tell you how glad it's going. If the Patriots lose tonight, the Dolphins are at a tie with them, so that's pretty good.
I wish that I felt better about this team, but I think we're all in the same boat this year.
Yeah, this is the joke where it starts where what happens when a Giants fan, a Patriots fan, and a Dolphins fan walks into a bar.
They all end up with a winless season.
Well, we all end up on this podcast.
All right, so as I alluded to, this show isn't for any new comic books. If you want to go and check out new comic books, go over and look at Flipside Focus. If you're indie books, go check out TDC for everything that's DC related. And of course, check out No Prize Podcast for whatever's going on in Marvel now that Empire's finished. Normally it'll probably be the X of Swords or whatever it's called nowadays. So, yep. We have got 3 books. 3 retro books for you to have a look at. All various ages. We're going to start off, thanks to the lovely people at eBay, we're going to start with the most expensive one, work our way backwards. All right. So thanks to eBay, this book at a grade 8.5 sells in the UK for £595.
And when you translate that to American dollars, how much is that?
Right, something like 1.2 for every pound. So what's that? £600-700 dollars, okay. maybe.
Okay.
I am talking about the best afro in all of Marvel. The only dude who can wear a yellow shirt that open and wear Wonder Woman's tiara and get away with it. It is Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, #1, which was, no surprise, the Marvel guy's choice.
What do you want? What do you want from this guy?
Yeah, what do you want? So, Bud, this is your book, man. Take us back to yesteryear with this book. There you go.
So, cover date on this is June 1972. So, I was about 6 months old. So, I didn't read this book when it came out, and I don't think any one of us did. But, and when you invited me onto this podcast, Johnny, and I guess maybe a little backstory here, over the last several months, I've kind of fallen out of love with new Marvel stuff coming out, new comics, and have fallen back in love with Silver Age Marvel, and have been just rapidly reading a lot of the stuff I've read before, but just kind of going back from release date and just kind of working my way through. And I am currently in the 70s. And when you invited me on this, I was like right around 1972, and the Marvel explosion of new ideas and new comics that started in the early 70s. And I'm talking in 1972, Johnny. I mean, we started getting Luke Cage, Power Man, and within a year we'd have Howard the Duck, we'd have Man Thing, we'd have Ghost Rider, we'd have Son of Satan, we'd have Moon Knight, all those Morbius. Tons of fresh new Marvel characters coming through that were not created by the minds of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And I decided to go with Luke Cage because I kind of feel like he's reflective of kind of what's going on today. And I wanted to kind of no. I wanted to kind of view this book through the lens of what 2020. And I thought it would be interesting.
Oh my God.
I know.
Just where we're going with this. Oh my God.
I didn't know what the format was, and I didn't know if we were supposed to be retro the entire time.
No, it's fine. Just go for it. It's your book.
So anyhow, we're going to start this. Shout out to Archie Goodwin, who wrote this book with George Tuska on art. Stanley still gets editing credit, but we have Billy Graham on inks with Skip Koloff as the letterer. I kind of think Skip Koloff might be a made-up name for kind of like a group effort.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the tagline, "The bloke on the desk over there," just didn't seem right.
Right.
Mike, before we get into this, do you remember this book? Were you around?
I know this is the Old Timers Club, but I wasn't born yet.
Okay, cool.
And I certainly wasn't reading.
Those pictures, man. Those pictures.
No, I'm just messing. Yes, but I have read this book.
All right,
yes,
okay.
And I do own it, yes.
You own it?
Yes.
Oh, cool. All right. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry,
so
I said carry on.
So basically, this is basically Luke Cage's origin story. In one issue, nice 23 pages. You get a nice big fat story with lots of stuff going on. This isn't a 12 issue written for the trade kind of story, which it would be today. In this issue, it's 25 pages story. By the end of the issue, he's broken out of jail, set himself up as a hero for hire, and ready to go tune into issue 2. But this is the origin story. It opens with him in prison, which up to this point in Marvel. So at this point, Marvel's 10 years old. We'd never seen a story like this before, with kind of like the inner workings of the Marvel Universe penal system. But apparently in Marvel, we have all of the cops are bad and want to abuse the prisoners, and there's no warden. They're waiting for a new warden to show up, and the chickens are running the hen house, and the cops are abusing the prisoners, and Luke is pretty much being abused, thrown in solitary. He comes out. They want to. But he's still got his attitude, like he's not buckling down to the man. The new warden shows up, kind of straightens out the abusive guards, fires one of them, busts the captain down to a normal guard, and then we meet Dr. Noah Bernstein, who for some reason is conducting experiments on prisoners and wants Luke to buy into this to lower his prison sentence. And
Suicide Squad.
So maybe this idea had been used before.
Maybe if we used again, more like it. Remember, this is 1972, so
it is also Hero for Hire. So
yeah.
It is. So we see that Luke eventually, because he thinks that this guard that got busted down from Captain might kill him if he doesn't go for this test. He jumps right in and says, "Let's go. Do whatever experiments you want on me." Noah Bernstein sinks him into these vat of radioactive chemicals, of course, because that's what you do with the prisoners. And then the guard shows up, messes with the dials, and is trying to kill Luke Cage. But instead of killing him, as happens in the Marvel Universe, he gets superpowers from it.
Hey, there you go. Good dose of radiation. That'll sort you out.
Good dose of radiation. He gets the superpowers, gets his bulletproof skin, which he realizes very quickly. And then he smashes through a wall and tries to escape the prison, where he is promptly shot by the guards and falls into the bay. And now Luke is presumed dead. So he sets himself up as hero for hire. And, and that's the end of the origin story.
Oh.
It's pretty cool. You know, if this was no, Johnny, if this was written today, you would have a 10-part origin story and have to wait for months to get this. But this was a really, really dense story, lots of stuff going on.
Yeah. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Comics from the yesteryear tended to be more single or 2-issue stories. Yeah, definitely. And that used to be one of the deciding factors for me if I bought which comic book I bought, because it was when I was growing up, we didn't have a greater supply of comic book shops. So it would be whichever book has a complete story in, that's the one I'm going to buy.
I mean, just look at the cover of this book. It already tells you a lot.
The cover's gorgeous.
Sure.
Yeah, everything that Bud just mentioned is literally on the cover. So with today's book, you get characters that aren't even in the book on the cover.
That's true. That's true. And
I will say that the dice are on. The 3 and the 4 are on opposite sides, not next to each other like that. Because opposite, because dice sides equals 7, and opposites not like that. That dice is wrong. But other than that, you're absolutely right. The cover is gorgeous. The cover's the best thing about the book, for me.
So if you had walked into a comic book store in 1972, and now if you remember up until this point, Marvel had Black Panther debut in 1965, and then the year before this, you had the Falcon appear in Captain America. So you had 2 black heroes up to this point in Marvel entirely. Okay. And now, so you have Luke Cage, Hero for Hire. Not only that, now he's the first ongoing black man with a comic book. Now, there's some argument is if did Jungle Action start? Well, Jungle Action might have been in reprints right now, but Black Panther had not taken over yet. Right. So,
yeah, I mean that's a fair shout. The first ongoing black-led comic book. Totally get it. Yeah. Totally get it. That's a really good shout.
I think a lot of the reason that I picked this issue was because there's a lot to unpack here as far as first black man comic book, and then just the origin story. And if you look at it today, I'm sure back in the 70s no one really thought about that, but the chain for a belt, the bracers, like breaking the slave mold. There is a definite shout out there, and I don't know if that costume would go over very well today, but it is a shout. And I did not get into the fact that they did set up his main villain, Willis Stryker Diamondback, in this issue too, in his origin story. So going forward, you knew that he had the protagonist was set up, the antagonist was set up. They had you knew they hated each other, and I think if you read this first issue, you would definitely be coming back for issue 2.
Okay, Mike, what do you think of this book?
I think everything Bud said is true. I think we're at a point where we're falling out of love with the newer books. I agree with that 1,000,000%. And in choosing this book, it's definitely relative to today. Whether you think so or not, you could just read it for yourself. Some of the elements of this book also found its way onto the Netflix show.
True.
And if I had $1 for every person I ran into, that Diamondback, wow, that's an interesting new character. He's not new.
Okay. Say it like you mean it. Go on, 13. Say it like you mean it.
He is not new. Luke Cage is not new. Okay. This came once upon a time, many decades ago. Here is the book in your face. Everything that Bud said here is absolutely true. A lot of the elements, the crime elements, the crime within the justice system. We can go on all day and pick this book apart as to how it's relevant to 2020.
Yep.
The inherent racism that's all the way through it.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. You got one guy who just refuses to give up, and he has a just cause, and he's still he believes in that, and he doesn't give up. And look at all the stuff behind. The cover says it all. Like I said, look at what's behind him. You know what I mean? But there he is. He's coming out and saying, look, I'm going to rise above all this, And for those that can't defend themselves, here I am. I'm a hero for hire.
Mm-hmm.
What isn't there to like about this book?
Well,
Johnny will tell us.
oh no, actually, no. The thing is,
I mean, other than the chemicals, if we had $1 for every time someone fell in a vat of chemicals, what
Yeah.
happens in the Marvel world, they get powers. In DC, you become a joke. No pun intended. Joker, like ha ha ha.
I was there. I got it. When I looked at this book, you kind of got to put your brain on park for a little bit, not in a bad way. All right, if you read this book now, there is the language inside it is quite inflammatory in times. They use the word boy a lot, which is, as we know, a derogatory term. Back then, I'm not sure that was as prevalent as it is nowadays. So this was just kind of how it is back then. So you've got to park your social justice to one side and just enjoy the book for what it is on this occasion. It's a little bit. It's of its time in that, the origin. It's radiation, it's chemicals, it's all this and stuff. What I found really interesting, what I like, is some of the more historical. I mean, Archie Goodwin, for example, was a Marvel writer. He was great. He did the Star Wars books. He was pretty much an editor towards the end on the Epic line, I think it was, for a while,
Yes.
black and white at least. So, he's been around the industry. I think this book probably gets a bit of a bad rap because when people say Luke Cage, or people of a certain age say Luke Cage, they also think about Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like the fact that the prison, Seagate Prison, where was Rikers? Was Rikers not around in 1972?
Renovation.
I thought Rikers was the prison of choice for everything that was Marvel. No?
Well, up until this point, they had not even really shown the villains in prison.
Right.
It was they didn't really show the bad guys going to jail or anything like that. So for when Luke Cage hit the scene and the first whole half of the book is in a prison, that's really something that, and I mentioned that, we haven't really seen that in Marvel book before up until that point. And to have your first view of a prison in the Marvel universe have your hero be in it, it's kind of like,
Right.
wow,
It's a different take.
It is a hugely different take. So, I mean, this book really kind of does stand up today, but there's like 100 other things to talk about when you look at it through the lens of the present, So
Can I also add something too? So
Yeah, go for
I
it.
do own this copy, and I believe I bought it about 8 years ago, maybe a little bit before that. And when I saw this copy, a friend of mine who owns a comic shop had several copies, and he was selling them for under $10. Okay,
really,
it breaks my heart. You know why? Okay, so here we are talking about all the elements inside the book. This character has proven to stand the test of time, right? He's still relevant today. But it's amazing how when the show came out, all of a sudden you can't find this book anywhere, and the price or the value of it just increased exponentially. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So if people buying it today, what are you buying it for? Are you buying it because you want to read the story, or you're buying it because maybe you want to flip it later on? Because the book has really, really, really skyrocketed in value. So yeah, we may say that Power Man, you could say he's with Iron Fist or whatever, but this was the book. This was the book where this was him. This was all about him.
Mm-hmm.
So we've taken this journey, right, to get to this point. Those things that I mentioned are facts, right? But this character, again, is very, very relevant in today's day and age. He's not going anywhere. So, I highly recommend that when any books that we mention here for you listeners out there, and you come across older books, don't just walk by it and take it for granted. Don't buy it just because I think this is going to be worth something someday. Buy it because a story in here was actually made for a reason. And this is proof positive. Back then in 1972, what was going on? And here we have a character that we can talk about and help us explain that to you. So there's actual meaning behind it. It's not just about the money.
There you
Rant
go.
over.
Whoa. All right, and what a rant. Okay, so there you go. There's the first book down. Okay. Second book then. The second book. The second book that we're going through is 13th. This is your book. This is surprisingly cheaper than the Luke Cage book. Yeah. This is, again, thanks to the lovely eBay, this is currently trending in the UK at £100 upwards. All right. And when you think about who's involved in this book and the characters involved, you've got to say, man, that's an absolute steal. We are talking about Silver Surfer, Volume 1, Number 3. Yeah. Had to say Volume 1 and 3 to get the number 13 in there. Hope you appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, like that. You see what I did there?
That went over my head until you mentioned it.
So, 13th, this is your call. Take us through it.
Yeah, this came out at a time when books were a quarter. So that was cool. So this was Stanley and John Buscema with Joe Sinnott coming in to finish everything with the art. Silver Surfer, at this point in time, there wasn't that many appearances of him, right? So he just comes out in Fantastic Four. It was, to me, one of the greatest Fantastic Four stories ever. Between the first 100 issues. So much happened in there, but this one stuck out. So here he is. He gets his own solo series, and issue 1 explored his origin. Issue 2, you get a little adventure with an alien. Issue 3, I felt things just took a completely different turn for the character, right? So you figure, well, Silver Surfer was created by Galactus. He's super duper powerful, but yet here he is trapped on Earth and he's struggling with himself. So to me, I felt like these early Silver Surfer issues really, really humanized him. The guy was struggling. He gave up his life for his planet. He gave up serving Galactus, which I'm not going to say is a bad thing, but it obviously caused struggle for him within himself. And here he is dealing with people on Earth who pretty much go against everything he believes in. The violence, the crime. You see the recurring theme here? So here he is, super powerful, walking among humanity, and he just gets tired of it. And he feels like he should do something about it. But in doing something about that, he draws the attention of, to me, one of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe, easily in the top 10. And if he isn't, then, oh, well, what can I say for you? With Mephisto, right? So I remember the first time I ever read this book, and I was like, there's a little bit of a chill to it. You don't see Mephisto at first, but then when you do, the splash panel by Buscema is just, it's iconic, with him sitting on a throne in hell. And this image is pretty much cemented throughout the Marvel Universe when you think of Mephisto. You don't even see his face. You just see pretty much what's surrounding him and his wacky hairdo there. He doesn't have horns, but his hairs do imply that. And he basically notices the Silver Surfer, and he already notices that he stands for the complete opposite of what he does. And right away, he wants to get him out of the way. So he finds out that Shalabal, his girl that he left behind, is the way to destroy the Surfer, or actually enslave him. So long story short, this sets up an iconic matchup. The first time that these two beings meet, Silver Surfer and Mephisto. So these are two powerhouses in their own right. But here they are in issue 3, fighting with each other, and not in a physical sense, but more in a spiritual way, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
The Surfer is so good and so noble, and Mephisto is trying to destroy that. So maybe he could beat him physically or whatever, but that's not going to keep the Surfer down. It's different. Mephisto, he already shows you what he does best by trying to tempt him into joining his side, by giving him money, giving him wealth, giving him command of an empire, women, whatever it be, a giant Super Bowl, a Dolphin Super Bowl.
I'll take that one. I'll give that one. Woo!
I'm telling you,
That-
the list of stuff Mephisto throws at him, how many of us would have made it even that far?
Well, the 3 babes, man. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
John
Mephisto.
Buscema's babes.
Yeah, 3 John Buscema babes. Dude, come on. Tick that box right now. Boop. Accept that cookie. Take it.
You throw in a Super Bowl would be sweet. But Surfer rejects it all because that's not what he's about.
He's an idiot. Oh, sorry.
So, towards the end, Mephisto just can't get him to crack. And this really puts to me, like, you don't see Surfer like lifting a building, throwing him through a mountain, or hitting him and beating him to a pulp until he bleeds, or vice versa. This is really a war of wits and a demonstration of power. And I think that's what makes this battle iconic. And not to mention the fact that Surfer was not really supposed to see his girlfriend. And the fact that Mephisto brought her over and tried to use her to his advantage to get the Surfer to join him is another thing. So to me, this really has a lot of deep meaning behind it, and the art is just phenomenal. Like, all these images that you find of Mephisto throughout this book, you'll see them time and time again whenever you look up the history of Mephisto. And I would say that up to Infinity Gauntlet, this is really Mephisto the way that he was always supposed to be. I think Infinity Gauntlet changed his persona a little bit. But that's just my opinion. And there you go. Definitely worthwhile to have in your collection, no doubt.
I always think, when I think of the Silver Surfer, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Professor, you're probably equally as up on Surfer as 13th in this instance. Sometimes he's a bit of a pain in the ass, isn't he? He's not like a traditional superhero. He's always like, I'm here to save the world, but the world doesn't want me to save it, so therefore I shall destroy it. Oh wait, I can't destroy it. I'm the hero. He gets a little bit mopey about it. He's a little bit emo, like his little cotton socks.
What he is really is he's Stan Lee's ultimate like alter ego, but hippy dippy, save the world, but condemn us as humans for not being better. And the Silver Surfer sees that in humanity, and he wants to help us, but he also wants us to kind of reap the whirlwind. It's like he is truly above it all, and he's supposed to be, because he's an alien and he's supposed to not understand our strange mortal ways. And that really kind of what Stan Lee does in this book, and this is a lot of the reason why Stan Lee he didn't allow anybody else to write Silver Surfer or use Silver Surfer in books unless Stan Lee blessed it. But it's because I think out of everybody in Marvel, Silver Surfer was Stan Lee's voice in Marvel Universe and what he wanted to have happen for the world. But this Silver Surfer also kind of reminds me of almost like Shakespeare. you know,
Whoa.
a little bit. I know. I'm probably treading into the water here.
I get it. He's got some
the
gravitas.
drama and the gravity. Yeah, I was going to say gravitas. There we go. So, the drama and of course the woman that he can't have, even though he knows he can't have her, he doesn't allow Mephisto to tempt him with all of these gifts in order to kind of, make him a lesser person. So to me, it's Silver Surfer is all about triumphing over your human nature and kind of doing like the ultimate good, and that to me is really kind of what translates in this. And these are, and of course, we're going to be talking about so many classic Silver Age stories. This is one of them. The introduction of Mephisto, and this is kind of really where Silver Surfer starts to come out. You've seen him when you saw him in Fantastic Four previously, he was kind of a whiny bitch, as far as, I don't, but if you understand, because he was trying to separate himself from Galactus, but here he's separated from Galactus, and now he's trying to understand what it is he actually got himself into.
Yeah, he's still not happy. He's still a whiny bitch.
Yeah,
like, I ordered my steak raw, and now my steak is raw, and now I'm not happy with my steak raw.
I am Mephisto. I will give you money, treasure, galactic empire. Well, I'm
a well done steak.
But I really want this.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a classic. It's a classic Stan Lee story, and John Buscema is probably one of my favorite Marvel artists, next to Kirby, and my growing love for Gene Colan. But John Buscema is unbelievable, and it's the most. And you said that the iconic splash page of Mephisto, kind of in the throne. He does that drawing so well with this, like the slouch. And he's done it with Loki, Doctor Doom, even Vision. If you remember, like him slouching in the chair with the goblet of it's like no one makes them look so like condescending and evil. So
and this really set the stage for Mephisto. It really did, and it's not the first time where we see Mephisto in this kind of way. There's iconic battles with Thor. But Mephisto is a force to be reckoned with, and here he is, literally out of like a bat out of hell. There's a segue for you, Johnny. Coming into issue 3, a new series out of nowhere. Boom, here I am. This is it. This is the battle for your life, and it really was.
And I mean, just to shout this out, I know that that 13 you mentioned this, but yeah, I mean, this book was a quarter. Most books at this point in time were still 12 cents, just about to go up to 15. But this is the first time that you had a series that was double-sized every single issue. And it went back to single-sized issues after issue 6. But the first 6 issues were all double-sized, full stories, 48 pages with a backup in the back with the Tale of the Watcher. But this one is, you had to want this book for a quarter, and it's really it really is like that 48 pages of just goodness, and Buscema just pounding through every single issue like this. It was really, you don't see it anymore.
No.
I don't mind the Silver Surfer. He's one of those characters that I can take or leave for me, because it's like. I love him in Fantastic Four. I loved him in the introduction stuff. But then I just got a little bit bored with his whininess. He was always complaining about something. He was always bitching. I'm like, dude, you're on a surfboard. Come on. What's happened? Did you not catch a big one? What's going on? The whole introduction of Mephisto was absolutely brilliant. I don't think he's had his battles with Thor, but I don't think Mephisto's been around for quite some time. I mean, the last major thing I think of Mephisto was the One More Day thing, and I can't remember seeing him since then. So this is kind of, and this might go down to some of the value. We'd have to ask Lucas on this, and the fact that the book is relatively cheap for what is such a classic issue. You know,
You know what's funny too? We had the Infinity stuff with Avengers and the Gauntlet and Thanos. Mephisto played a major part in that story, and he wasn't even used in the movie. He wasn't even thought about. You know, which I think is pretty funny. You know, Mephisto has existed for decades, and he's been overlooked time and time again. And Johnny's absolutely right with the One More Day. Is that the last relevant Mephisto story out there? Are you kidding me?
You know, he's been all over Marvel the last couple of years, and he had a huge part in the I can't even remember the name of the story, so I imagine you're right. It wasn't a relevant story. But it's
too new for us old timers.
Right. Who's Silver Surfering now?
Well, he's trapped in in Las Vegas, right? He's in the Doctor Strange put him in prison in Las Vegas.
Oh man, I remember.
Yeah.
So
he's
that's a gamble.
He's done nothing since.
But he's still all over the Avengers book currently, and you know, there's a couple of books he's just kind of popping up in. But he's still around, and he's actually one of the ones I complained a couple of months ago about being overused this year.
So there you go. If you've got your Mephisto fans on, you know, if he's going to be a big player coming up in the current Marvel universe, now might be a good time to get on this book. You never know.
What the hell?
That's true. You know, it's a good time to get that if it's only $150.
Yeah, and you got to think that the movies, the Phase 4 movies, are going to come knocking on his door at some point, right?
Well, they're supposedly introducing Nightmare in the next Doctor Strange movie, and the Mephisto is not a far cry from Nightmare. So.
And then, of course, you've got Thor coming up as well, so who knows what's from that point of view. Right, okay, on to the final book, all right, and the cheapest, all right, so a little bit of history.
That's because it's DC. Oh, sorry, Johnny. Affordable.
Yeah. So a little bit of history. I picked up Tales of the Teen Titans, Tales of the Titans, 44, I think it is, and I paid a whole whopping £2 for this book. It was tatty as anything. I'm not really that fussed about the first appearance of Nightwing, so boof, off it went onto the BRV, and lo and behold, £14 it sold for. Unbelievable. So with my £14, I went for a piece of my personal history. Back in the UK, back in 1980, you get these, and some of the 70s, you get these hardback annuals that come out at Christmas, and I had Batman Annual from 1980. And in it was the story from The Brave and the Bold 113, which is my background right now. And
another
in
book with a 13 in it. Sweet.
Yeah, no. I tell you what, it's the last time. So this is my first introduction, I guess, to Jim Aparo. Now, Jim Aparo is my Batman artist. He's my Batman. Better than Neil Adams, better than Alan Davis, better than Jim Lee, better than Greg Capullo. You know, he's my guy. What's also cool about this book, when I didn't realize when I bought it, it's 100 pages, and we're going to talk about every single one. No, we're not. I'm sure we're not going to do all of them. There's a couple of back issues, like reprints in here, some Green Arrow, some Hawkman, but really it's Jim Aparo, Batman, the Metal Men. So how it works is that Commissioner Gordon's been retired, bless him, by the new Politios that are in charge, and also because of that, so is Batman. Batman gets handed his golden watch and sent off to wherever it is superheroes go to retire to. In the wake, the Metal Men are going to come and replace Batman and protect Gotham City. But lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, Wayne Enterprises gets hijacked, very Die Hard style. And of course, the Metal Men aren't up to the task. So it's up to...
I could just picture yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay, you metal bitch. So it's up to Bruce Wayne and his god-awful tie to save the day. I mean, honestly, who wears an orange tie with a brown suit? What's that all about? To save the day and regain these legalized vigilante status that seem to be all the rage. It's a story by Bob Haney, by Jim Aparo, and honestly, looking through this book, it's gorgeous. It is one of the most energetic, visual Batman stories. I love the whole Brave and the Bold stuff. You know how we were saying earlier, how you buy a book because it's got a single story in it? Brave and the Bold would be the book for me because you're getting some Batman, you're getting some other characters, and the story lasts one issue. The art, I think if Jim Aparo was still alive now, I think his art would hold up still today.
I agree with you there.
I'm right with Jim Aparo, man, and you know that. His art, it stands the test of time and will continue to stand the test of time. There's no doubt about when you selected this book, and I'm like, yeah, Jim Aparo. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It really is.
Yeah, I'm looking through the book as I'm talking now, and there's like just so many fantastic little panels. I don't know if you can see that one there. Batman putting on his gas mask. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. It's just the way he draws hands, the chest and everything, the cape, the whirly bat makes an appearance. Man, it's Brave and the Bold might be cheese on toast, you know, because some of the contrivances are very contrived, you know. But
I think the way that Aparo draws, like my favorite thing with Aparo, the way he's drawn or drew Batman, was when he walks down a hallway and you see like the way he has him posed standing with the cape flowing in the back.
Yeah,
you see so much of that with Jim Aparo work throughout the years.
Yeah.
And you can see his art gradually get a little bit stronger as time went on. Mm-hmm. But it still stays true to its form in a way, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I mean, the 50-Story Killer is the name of the story. And man, this is a piece of my childhood. This is one of the books that I absolutely fell in love with. Absolutely.
The original Dark Knight's Metal.
See, now you're going to say something. Now I've got to put up with him, Dis and DC. Now you're going to bring up that as well. Right, that's it. One of you two will host in the next one. I'm not doing this and getting like grief for my picks. I have to listen to Heroes for Hire and Surf Boy there. Jesus.
I'll tell you what, you know, the Jim Aparo Batman is 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 gold. Just for the art alone, even if you don't like the story, it's something really to behold. And Johnny's right with these Brave and the Bold issues, not just this one, but all in general. You're getting a little bit more than just Batman. You're getting all the other DC characters that maybe at this point in time you really semi knew about, like, you know, who doesn't know Hawkman or whatever, but Metalman. Would you really go to the racks and look for Metalman specifically? Probably not.
Not even now with the mini-series maxi series that Dan Didio got fired from. No.
Yeah. So I just think it's funny that, you know, all these characters are pretty much thrown into a bowl of soup, and here you go.
Cool.
So,
Professor, what do you think? Batman Brave and Bold 113.
I'd actually never read this book, so I read this book specifically for the podcast. But the Jim Aparo art. So when you say he's your Batman, he was my Batman too. Because when I first started reading Batman, Jim Aparo was the artist. So it was something else. And to kind of realize that his history goes back so far. The story was you're right, a little contrived. That Commissioner Gordon and Batman both get retired. I was like, what year did this come out?
The thing is, the relevance to this though is that Gordon stays retired for ages. It may seem contrived, but the whole Gordon getting replaced thing, that was an ongoing story in Batman and Detective at the time. So it's not just like the Gordon getting replaced element isn't just a one and done.
If I may interject to help the professor. So, Professor, this is the likeness of Gordon. My analogy for that would be the same as when Aunt May was on her deathbed at least 15 times in ASM between issue 1 and 100. But she casually got younger, right until she got de-aged, and especially for the movie. There you go.
Okay. Well, that clears a lot of that up. So
in the red corner we have the 13th Crusader DC fan. In the blue corner we have the Professor, a Marvel fan. Who will win? Who will find out? Ding, ding.
I want to talk about the Metal Men for a minute, because I don't have another, like, I can't think of another DC character or group that is any more like would live comfortably in like the 1970s Saturday morning cartoon era than the Metal Men.
I agree with that, yeah.
Because I was reading that and I was doing voices in my head for every single one of those characters from cartoons, and I loved them in this issue. And I don't generally love the Metal Men, but when I put them in like a Saturday morning cartoon environment, and you see them like the changing their shapes at a whim just to kind of fit the purpose and create the gimmick, or do whatever they need to do. I was like, why didn't they have a Saturday morning cartoon?
I can't believe you said gimmick about the Metal Men when you've got a dude who flies around space on the surfboard.
Or a man with a utility belt that it can do a gimmick every time.
Iron Man. Oh, it just happens I'm wearing my special iron armor that's just ready for this case. Whatevs.
Hey, luckily I have some shark repellent in my utility belt for this situation.
That was in the back copter, and there was a manta ray. There's a whole range of them. So
the whirlycopter that makes an appearance on page 18.
Right, fine. It's got to be like that, isn't it?
And the Wayne building was misspelled.
Yeah. How was the Wayne building misspelled?
W-A-N-E.
That's because he's being tied to the letter Y, and he kicks the luminous out of it. So that's how they know where Bruce Wayne is, because the Y goes out. Read the book.
I did, but that's what I noticed. It says
it's the neon sign.
Yeah.
So I mean, story-wise, and I agree with you, the art is unbelievable. But the story, they like wrap up in the last two panels of the book where, and one arm was somebody Batman caught once. I read that whole issue and I was like, I can't wait to find out who one arm is. Is it Two-Face? Is it Riddler? Is it Joker? No, it's some guy.
Never mind. I'm taking flack for this. Fine.
I thought it was great, but that last two panel wrap up of the story was kind of amusing to me. So, but other than that, it is a classic. It's a classic Batman story, and Batman was. This is the Batman team up book, right? Brave and the Bold teams up with someone different every issue. So to me, it's worth it, because if you love Batman and you love getting the team up with everybody in the DC universe, right? He's Marvel's Spider-Man, and that's awesome. And you're right. You're not going to go out and find a Metal Man off the rack and buy it. So it was great to put them with Batman, and I enjoyed them in this issue. So
cool. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So next time around, one of you two are hosting, so I can kick the crap out of your books. Just saying.
I think you did.
Did I?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's all right then. Okay then, parity all around. All right, there you go. That's us done for the first ever episode of the Old Timers Comic Book Show. Remember, it's not us that's old, it's the comics. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite podcasts, including Professor
No Prize Podcast.
What's that about then?
Well, No Prize Podcast is all about the current Marvel universe and all the current Marvel books.
Cool, there you go.
Tune in.
No comment. And also the Definitive Crusade, which comes out on alternate weeks, where everything is DC. Okay, and if you want something a little bit different, you've got Outside the Panels, where you get to talk to creators. Go look up the recent one. There's an interview with Jed McKay, the current writer on the Black Cat book. All right, there you go. So all that's left for me to do is say thank you, 13th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go Giants.
Okay.
Professor,
Where's
thank you
my
very
fist?
much.
Johnny,
Who
it's
are
a
the
pleasure as always.
who are the Patriots playing?
They are playing the Raiders in about 5 minutes.
Go Raiders.
See, see you at the bar, guys.
The Finns already won this week, so I don't care. And stay tuned for UCPN for more of this great show. All right. Adios, guys.
All right.
Hasta la
Jets.
vista.
See ya.